Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. This morning we briefly discussed the sequence of self-growth or self-development as the Upanishads or as the Vedas present before us, where the Vedas see the life of an individual as consisting of 4 stages of brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. Tentatively they say that if the lifespan is 100 years, then first 25 years the life of a student, brahmacharya. But brahmacharya commonly means celibacy. But brahmacharya means brahmani charati. So one that is devoted to Brahma, where Brahma means Vedas. And therefore the one who is devoted to the study of the Vedas is a brahmachari. With the word brahmachari also goes other things, namely the lifestyle. That brahmachari means a celibate, a student who is devoted to the study of the Vedas. In the ancient times, he would necessarily go to the house of the teacher. There would be an initiation ceremony called the Upanayanam, where is given the sacred thread. He is initiated into this famous mantra called Gayatri Mantra or Savitri Mantra, which is the essence of the entire Vedas. And that qualifies him to study the Vedas. But the way the study took place is from the teacher. And this was, the transmission was verbal transmission from the teacher to the student. So we don't even know if the printed word was there or not. It was oral transmission. So teacher would recite a sentence and the disciple or disciples would repeat. And therefore it's called So Vedam Anuchya, this Anuchanam, the recital and then repetition, or Swadhyaya and Pravachanam, listening from the teacher and repeating. This was the process. In the process, the student learned and memorized the entire text without necessarily understanding the meaning of the text. The verbal text was listened to by the young boy and memorized, repeated enough number of times for the student to memorize. And then in the next day, the teacher would proceed to explain the meaning of the text, the grammatical meaning, etc. And then the teacher would proceed to explain the application of these texts into the life, which is called dharma, how to put that into practice. So then the student has completely studied the Vedas, studying the text, how to recite. Number 2, the meaning, the grammatical meaning. Number 3, dharma meaning, how to put that into, how to live the life based on that. Then he comes home, Vedamanuchya, Acharyante Vasanam. Then Acharya, the teacher, says to them that may you now go home and enter the second stage of life. Enter the life of householder. As the Grihastha where he puts into practice what all he has studied. Meaning that the nature of education was to help the student live his life of performance of karma, performs all the day-to-day activities. And as we explained this morning, ideally, then a householder grows into being a karma yogi, so the Vedas looked upon the life of a person as the life of a contributor. Because as the Vedas explain, that we, every individual, is a part of the whole cosmos. There is interconnectedness and there is interdependence in the whole universe, that we are not isolated, unconnected beings. Although it may look to us that we are only connected to immediate family members, that's all our connection we know, but then we are connected to the entire universe, where the universe is like one family. So we are connected to the devatas, all the natural forces or gods who have a profound influence in our life. Connected to rishis or sages who have given us these scriptures. Connected to parents and ancestors who have given this body and raised us, nurtured us, nourished us, educated us. And other members of the society, other human beings who do what they do, which make our life possible. A farmer also is required in our life. A trader also is required. A merchant also is required. A teacher also is required. A postman is required. And everybody is required. Directly or indirectly, they contribute to our life. And even all the animals and plants and the rest of the kingdom, natural also, has directly or indirectly contributes to our life. So Vedas show that connection. How The whole universe is connected, and that is the principle also of the meditation that we will see. But further principle of interconnectedness and interdependence as to how an individual is the beneficiary of the contributions of the rest of the universe makes us see that. And thus we should orient our life also by being a contributor, by returning the favor. We are constantly being favored by the entire universe, made up of these 5 entities, the devatas or gods or deities, the rishis or the sages, the pitrus, the ancestors, other human beings, and the rest of the nature, the animals, plants, even insects. So how we are all interconnected in terms of what's the relationship? Vedas say that the entire universe is interconnected and interdependent by a relationship of upakaraka, upakarya. Upakaraka, one that favors, one that helps, one that contributes. Upakarya, one who is favored, one is helped. Meaning that the entire universe favors us, helps us, we are favored and helped. And in turn, the universe automatically is so designed that every entity also contributes to the universe. It's programmed that way. And this rule applies to the entire universe and should also apply to human being. Except that a human being has free will, meaning some limited freedom to choose what to do, what not to do. Kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. Meaning that with the freedom to choose what to do, to choose what not to do, to choose how to do, this choice is given to us. So freedom is given to us. That's called free will. And when freedom is given, there's always a possibility the freedom may be abused. So rest of the nature is not given this freedom. Therefore, they cannot abuse the freedom. Meaning that the way the rest of the nature conducts is automatically conforming to the relationship of upakarya, upakaraka, the favored and the one who favors. Everything is favored. ChhandogyaUpanishad also beautifully talks about that. And even the next passage, here, this what we are going to do also in a way mentions that. But ChhandogyaUpanishad explains later as to how this earth is favored by the rest of the creatures. Because earth is the product of all the karma that all the creatures have performed. In turn, earth favors all the creatures by sustaining them, supporting them. So also water, so the all elements of nature. So thus the universe is designed and is sustained by the relationship of upakaraka, upakarya, the one who favors and one who receives the favor. So we don't have to teach this to animals or to birds or to plants or to rest of nature, because they instinctively follow this pattern and therefore they are automatically contributors. They receive the contribution and they contribute. A human being needs to be educated. See, we are born without this knowledge. Rest of nature is born with this knowledge, with this instinct, let us say. So they instinctively conduct themselves in the manner which is right. And therefore there is what we may call the ecological balance. That no element of nature disturbs this balance, except human being who has the potential of disturbing that balance. Why potential? Because he has the freedom and he can abuse the freedom. That's called freedom, which can be abused. So there is a likelihood that we may abuse the freedom that is given to us. And when do we abuse that freedom? Whenever we act out of self-centeredness, that is when we abuse that freedom. Self-centeredness, which comes from inner insecurity, inner fear. What will happen to me? I have to protect myself. The whole world seems to be after me, attacking me. I must protect myself. So have you heard Pujya Swami saying ninja? Have you heard this word? A born fighter. I fight and fall. Get up again and fight. So this human being has this kind of view about life, unfortunately. See, rest of the nature draws from the nature only what they need and leave the rest for others. So it's not that a lion goes about in the morning killing whatever comes in its way so that it can store in the freezer for the next month so it doesn't have to worry about it. No freezers, no cold stores, no storage in nature, right? No wardrobes, no closets. On the other hand, human being is very insecure. What will happen tomorrow? Where will my meal come from tomorrow? Birds are not worried about it. They wake up in the morning, they go about their business of getting their food, go to sleep. The human being is not content. Even if he gets what he needs, he is concerned about tomorrow and day after tomorrow and next generation and subsequent, what will my children and grandchildren, and sometimes 7 generation is concerned, what will, to make sure that they are provided with everything. So insurance and everything we have, and all savings accounts are there, and MOUs and LOUs and all kinds of stuff is there. Because of insecurity, fear that causes greed. Why is insecurity? Because I have this complex that I am a limited being. I am an insignificant creature. Insignificant in the whole universe. And I am for myself. Therefore, because that sense of smallness, littleness, limitedness, insignificance always creates in me a concern about what will happen to me tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So, why do we feel a sense of smallness? Why do we feel a sense of smallness? Why? Do we feel small because we are really small? Or because we think we are small, isn't it? That I am small or limited being, as the Swami would say, it's a It's a feeling, it's a sense, not a reality about me. But do you think that other creatures feel that they are limitless? You think a cat thinks that knows that it is limitless? Or a monkey thinks that it is limitless? Don't they think also that they are limited? They are also limited. Just because human being feels limited doesn't mean other creatures are limitless. No. The only difference is human being is a self-conscious being. You see, the difference is we are self-conscious being. That's where all the problems come. All problems come because of self-consciousness. What is self-consciousness? I am so and so. That I am so and so, that kind of a consciousness does not seem to be there in other creatures. That I am a dog, well, I don't know that. Maybe that I am a dog, that kind of consciousness a dog seems to have. Because the dog treats another dog in one way and the cat in another way, so some kind of consciousness is there, self-consciousness, which is required for them to survive. Otherwise they can't survive. But that I am a limited being, I am inadequate being, that kind of self-consciousness the rest of the nature doesn't have. You know why it doesn't have? You know why a dog doesn't have that self-consciousness that I am an inadequate being? Because they are not evolved to that point. In the cycle of, evolution, how the evolution from a unicellular creature all the way to the human being is the most evolved creature. It is not merely evolution of this organism, which is all there in rest of the creatures, and a lion is most evolved creature in that class. Every creature is most evolved in that class. It's not that a lion in course of time will become a tiger and something else. It will remain that only, as best I understand biology anyway. And human being also, as far as the organism is concerned, is most evolved in this class. There's another kind of evolution that has to take place. And human being is favored with a consciousness that kind of evolution is required. Other creatures are not favored with their consciousness, and therefore they go about their life merely thinking that they are all right. A tiger doesn't feel I am not all right as a tiger. That a lion is superior to me, that I am an inferior creature. This inferiority complex, the superiority complex, they're all spared. A buffalo feels that I am an unsuccessful buffalo and a successful buffalo. Every buffalo is successful, Thank God. You must have listened to Puja Swamiji that every creature is an emotionally mature creature. When a calf is born, it is born with a knowledge of how to survive. And in course of time it becomes a cow. So a cow is physically a mature creature as well as an emotionally mature creature for a cow. Whereas human being, he grows, organism grows. So as Swamiji would say, even if you don't do anything, you will start, you'll need to shave, whatever. Meaning that natural, the prakrutika, the natural evolution will take place. But whether emotionally the person grows or not, there is no guarantee at all. Meaning that emotional growth has to be initiated, has to be carried out by us. Where the cow does not need to do anything special to become emotionally mature cow. As it grows in the age, physical age, it also becomes an emotionally mature creature. The kind of maturity that the cow requires to survive, to live its life. A cow doesn't have to go to work, and perform. A cow doesn't have a desire other than desire to survive. It has desire to appease hunger, quench the thirst, propagate the species, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam. This is there. And they are given enough maturity to fulfill these needs. That's called emotional maturity, where one knows how to fulfill one's needs. The best way to fulfill the needs. Meaning that a cow will not just indiscriminately eat anything that comes in its way, it will only eat that which is right, for it to survive healthily. But unfortunately or fortunately, human being does not have that. It's so we suffer. There is no emotional suffering for any creature other than human being. They may be there to some extent, but usually what we call grief, sadness, depression, all of these are typical human problems, not problems of any other creature. Again, as best as I know. Because nowadays, I guess they have therapists even for dogs, and because when the dogs live with us, they seem by osmosis. They also seem to inherit, acquire some emotional problems from us. So they also get depressed, looks like. Not street dogs. They don't need any counseling. But the pets, because we spoil them or whatever we do to them. But otherwise, thank God, they don't need any therapists. They are their own doctors also. Anyway, we don't have to dwell upon animals. The thing is that how they do not have to go out of their way, attack somebody, misappropriate something that doesn't belong to them for them to survive. They are given enough awareness and intelligence required for them to survive. Happily survive. But human being apparently, it's amazing, is it not so? Even though the human being is the most evolved creature, he does not automatically grow into an emotionally mature creature. That emotional maturity is something that his responsibility is to acquire. Is it fair or unfair? Would it not have been nice if we were all emotionally mature people? Right from the birth? Would it not be nice? Then there are no arguments between two buffaloes, are there? They may compete for a limited amount of food. Once that is done, that's it, they are on their way. No buffalo remembers that yesterday this fellow told me something. They live in the present, Generally speaking, in Ahmedabad, we remember that dogs also seem to remember the past. If some little thing was, killed in a motor car or something, then dogs remember, and then when a similar car comes and they start barking and. But otherwise, they don't remember yesterday, what you did yesterday, and what you did, what will happen tomorrow. Live in the present. As Lord Krishna describes Sthita Prajna, a man of abiding wisdom, the way he behaves is the way the animals behave. So when you study Brahma Sutra, then you hear this sentence from the Bhashya of Shankaracharya ji. Pashvadibhischa avisheshat. That a wise person and the Pashu, the animals, in some ways are similar. Not that you become an animal. So ultimately, who is a wise person? An emotionally mature person. One who has brought about the total maturity. And you know something? By becoming emotionally mature, we become like animals. Not animals. We don't become animals. But just as animal lives in the present, has no complexes that I am so and so. And so also wise person lives in the present. Has no complexes that I am so and so. And therefore is free. What is freedom? What is moksha? Moksha is freedom from all complexes that I am so and so. And therefore, the wise person does not anyway have a free will also. Ideally, a wise person does not have free will. Is it good or not? No free will? Do you like that situation? That there is no free will? What happens when you don't have a free will? Or, I should not say he doesn't have free will. He is being free from the need for exercising the free will. Put it this way. He is as good as not having free will. Now, when there is no free will, animal also doesn't have free will. And a wise person also now has no need for the free will. The difference is, animals function on instinct, therefore they don't need the free will. They are programmed, so they don't need to exercise any freedom. Whereas, the wise person is what we call what? Spontaneous. What is it? Spontaneous. Meaning that he is spontaneously good. He is spontaneously in harmony with the whole universe. He is spontaneously good and right. So, that is the state of the highest maturity. You can call it emotional maturity or spiritual maturity. Swami didn't like the word spiritual and stuff like that. But then if you use that word, emotional maturity, moral maturity, spiritual maturity, that's what we have to grow to. No, that growth cannot take place because somebody puts his hand on my head, or takes a feather, peacock feather, and does something. It will be nice if that happens. We all wish that happens to us. It can happen also. I do not know. It has not happened to me, but it can happen. I have not been lucky enough for that kind of bliss to happen. But as I said, there are no shortcuts. We have to initiate a process and carry out the process by which that emotional growth or moral growth or spiritual growth takes place, for which we must live a certain way of life. Right now, a person begins as an insecure person, as a fearful person. And that insecurity makes him a self-centered person. I have to protect myself, otherwise what will happen to me? The self-centered person then becomes what? A person controlled by raga and dvesha, attachments and aversions. Not just likes and dislikes, not preferences. You can call it likes and if you want, but attachments and aversion. In attachment there is dependence, in aversion also there is dependence. The likes and dislikes, if they convey that to you, is alright. But sometimes simple likes and dislikes may not convey the idea. When you like something and cannot do without that, that's called attachment. Otherwise, like oranges, I don't like banana, that's okay. Our Swami used to say when he was distributing this prasad, in a big basket there were fruits. There was people lining up. And whatever fruit comes, he gave us. And then a child came, maybe 7-8-year-old little thing, banana. Swami, can I have an orange? Says, why? I hate bananas. Okay, take an orange. But that hate banana, I will not necessarily call it aversion. You may call it. But just because you hate banana, every time thought of banana comes and you get angry. That is called aversion. Banana thought comes and goes, you don't like it, okay. If the dislike of banana does not bother you, you follow? Does not create reaction in you, doesn't make you angry. In the words of Puja Swami, you can afford to have that, you follow? You can afford to have that likes and dislikes. They are not binding likes and dislikes. So Swami used to add one word, qualification, binding desires. You can afford to have desires as long as the non-fulfillment of the desire doesn't make you upset. You had a desire. You work to fulfill that desire. It did not get fulfilled. All right. You see that in animals, I was once watching a video and there was some creature like, what was that creature? I don't remember its name. But a carnivore creature naturally, and then it saw a deer and it started chasing. And deer realized that it's being chased by something like a wolf, And now you feel that he's going to jump on the deer and then deer would escape. And so many such things happen. At the end, after a long chase, the deer successfully jumped, a body of water. And this poor creature could not. You can see some disappointment. All right, walk back. That's it, the end of it. If after a long effort, if I could not get my objective, could not achieve, leave me frustrated, disappointed, and I'm no good, I'm a failure, would become a cause of a lot of mental anguish. No such thing. It was disappointed. Walk back. No, they have this because they are not given the freedom to be disappointed. To be disappointed also is a result of evolution, understand? To have desire also is a result of evolution. So our Swami was very fond of saying that, well, only your desire is in fact a great gift. It's a privilege. That a cow doesn't have a desire. Honey, shall we go for a restaurant this evening? It doesn't say to a bullock. Whereas we have that. So that way desire is a result of evolution. But then everything is what? It can be a privilege. It can be a burden. That's how everything is. The free will is a great privilege. A great gift can be a great burden. If used properly, it is a great privilege. Not used properly, it is a great burden, a source of pain. So what can become a source of happiness can also become a source of pain. Those fellows are neither happiness nor pain. A success doesn't make him maybe momentarily, but here you relish your success for a long time. Anyway, the point is that all this work has to be done. All privilege that we have of having a desire, having self-consciousness, having free will, all of these are the great gift that Ishvara has given to us. But with every gift comes also what? A great responsibility. That gift becomes a blessing and not a curse. Every gift can become a blessing or it can become a curse. Other creatures have no blessing, no curse. So therefore, it is necessary that we should live a way of life which is conducive for bringing about that emotional maturity, that self-growth, by which we become free from ignorance, you may say. Because you know what ignorance does? That we are self-conscious being, meaning conscious of our limitations. Not that other creatures are not limited. They are not conscious that I am a limited being, that I am an inferior being, I am a superior being. That kind of consciousness or complex they don't have. But our self-consciousness results into various complexes, various judgments, opinions about the self. You follow? And that causes various complexes. And that brings about your attachment, aversions. And we have to work hard to become free from the disadvantages that these gifts create for us, so that we can benefit from the advantage that each gift has. The self-consciousness, advantage and disadvantage. Free will is advantage and disadvantage. A desire is advantage and disadvantage. We must then live a way of life with the Vedas called dharma, a righteous way of life. A way of life in keeping with the order, as our Swami used to say. So that we progressively become free from the disadvantages that all the gifts have. The problems that they create for us. And thus progressively become freedom. So there is moksha all along, means freedom. So moksha is a process, not a happening. You follow? You grow into freedom progressively. Just as traveling to Gangotri is a process. Not that all of a sudden you find yourself there. Tomorrow, of course, you may fly and find, but still it's a process. In the olden days, the process was you to trekking, enjoy the beauty on the way. So, just as the goal is beautiful, so also the path is beautiful. Meaning that if you live the life of dharma as prescribed by the Vedas, then it becomes a process of enjoying the life also. Discovering happiness from ourselves. And that process culminates into discovering the limitlessness from ourselves. So all along it is a process of discovering the limitlessness, the wholeness, which is our true nature. to bring to manifestation that wholeness which is our nature. We can live unintelligently and suppress that wholeness and create misery or unhappiness for ourselves, or we can live intelligently and create happiness for ourselves. That's called freedom. Both ways. Freedom to create happiness for myself and freedom to create unhappiness for myself. That is the life of yoga, the Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas is what? Something that is very pleasant in the beginning and turns out to be bitter at the end. Shreyas is tastes rather unpleasant in the beginning, but turns out very sweet at the end, the result. These two choices are there. Short-term pain and long-term gain. Or short-term gain and long-term pain. But our mind generally seeks immediate gratification. So usually the mind goes for immediate gain, immediate gratification, short-term gain, not realizing that it will cause long-term pain. Most people live a life like that. That's the ignorance. Aviveka. Ignorance is further confounded to aviveka, non-discrimination. Kathopanit avidyayam antare vartamanaha. Living in the midst of ignorance. If the ignorant person knows I am ignorant, then it is good. Swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha. Ignorant and think that I am intelligent, I know what I am doing. That's a major problem. Because then we will never, we will never work for removing ignorance. We think that we are already wise people. And therefore a life is prescribed. So that's how a student learns from the teacher, how to live. So in the olden days, the education was of building a character, not just intellectual stuff, but building how to live the life. And one becomes mature as a human, as a householder. Even though tentatively it says 25 years, So 25 years life of brahmacharya, student. Next 25 years, next stage of life, what is that? Householder. Third 25 years, life of a forest dweller. We are lucky if 25 years are enough. It may be not 25 years, maybe 25 births, by the way, to to become mature enough from householder to forest dweller. 25 years, we are lucky. 50 years also we are lucky. It may take any number of births. Have you heard that story from Pujya Swami? I don't know how much you have been exposed to Pujya Swamiji. Not much perhaps, huh? Yeah, because he was not well at the time when you came. He was very fond of telling this story to us of a Greek philosopher. So this person was a householder, living life, and a businessman. For whatever reason then, he decided to relocate to some distant island in Greece itself to start another venture. He went all by himself into that other island and started his new venture. It took some years. And then he was successful in his venture. So now is the time for him to call his family, because now he can support them comfortably. So he arranged for the whole family to travel from where they were to the island where he was in a big ship. The family was traveling with all their belongings and all their wealth. All of them, his wife and children, everybody was traveling. And almost the day came when he expected them to arrive. He was anxiously waiting for their arrival. And anxiously waiting for the message to come as to when they're arriving. One afternoon there is a knock on the door. And when he opens the door, a messenger is there to give him some message. Except this messenger was very disturbed, very excited. He was breathless. Says, what's the matter? He asked. Says, sir, the ship has sunk. What? Yes, sir, the ship has sunk. So what? Sir, all your wealth and belongings are all drowned. You are a pauper. What? Yes, you are a pauper. So what? So your wife and children, family also is drowned. You are now all alone, isolated. What? You are. So what? Have you heard this story? No. What? When he asked that messenger, what? You mean, you don't mean that? What is not asked him to repeat? He has heard. Doesn't believe means doesn't want to believe. He doesn't accept that reality. No, it can't be. But in a few seconds, just so what? Meaning that he accepts the reality. That this has happened. There's nothing that I can do. And therefore, I have to gracefully accept that reality and do what is required to be done. What? And so what? Swami would say that for this philosopher, it perhaps took him maybe half a minute, 30 seconds. For another person, it can take 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 hours, 30 days, 30 months, 30 years, or 30 lifetimes. To bridge that gap between what? Means what? Not accepting the reality of life. To so what? Meaning discovering, and tuning up with the realities. So it is not that just because a person is 50 years that he is ready for that one. Even 25 that is ready for household is also not a rule at all. He may start shaving and he may be otherwise physically, ready, But along with physical readiness, you also require what? Emotional maturity. When there is not that, 52% people, they get married and separated. Why? Because of lack of emotional maturity. Unfortunate. But we have not developed that. But we hope that he has developed emotional maturity to start life of householder and lives a way of life called the yoga. So Swami used to say that a householder must become a yogi. Who is a yogi? The one who initiates the process of emotional maturity, inner growth. And then comes the vanaprastha. So for him is meant, what we call these upasanas, the meditations are meant for, generally speaking, not that a householder also can perform meditation, definitely. It's not just reserved for vanaprastha. Anybody who has the requisite mental frame can do the meditations. But tentatively, it is called aranyaka, meaning that this is meant for people, a forest dweller, who has given up all connections with the family and gone to forest. But just because one goes to forest and because legal connections are terminated, doesn't mean that he gets disconnected. First, the disconnection should come where? Here. You follow? As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vishayaha vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam. We can create a distance with the objects of pleasure and walk away and go to Rushikesh or a place like that, where no more there are those distractions. There is no more TV, no more internet, no more cell phone. That we can do. We can create a physical distance. But as far as that rasa is concerned, that fascination is concerned, that doesn't automatically go away. For that, we have to work hard to make our mind free from dependence upon those things. Then only it makes sense to give them up. Otherwise, you give up the cell phone and then you come away to Rushikesh. No cell phone, no towers, nothing. And then every moment you are worried, what happened to my wife and what, so meaning we keep needing those things. It is not merely creating physical distance, but then becoming free from the need. You follow? So what is emotional maturity? Progressively becoming free from needs. It's called vairagya. It's called what? Vairagya. Vairagya is emotional maturity. Becoming free from the emotional needs. Fortunately, they permit the fulfillment of physical needs, just as hunger and thirst. That they permit. Meaning that as sannyas, renunciate also is permitted to go and beg his food. Official beggar. Begging permitted officially only to the renunciate, to nobody else. Called bhiksha. You know bhiksha? Bhiksha means begging. Bhikh in Hindi is begging. But then bhiksha is the glorified begging. Meaning that you have certainly you should fulfill your needs of hunger and thirst. But there is no provision of fulfilling your emotional needs. The community will fulfill your physical needs. They will give you clothes also. If you go to this Kali Kamliwala, they have not yet taken you there perhaps. But there are Annakshetra. You know what is an Annakshetra? Where free food is given to sadhus, These sannyasis 10 o'clock. They line up in what they call Annakshetra, or a soup kitchen, or somewhere where the free food is given. And then every month they also given a stick of soap. Every 6 months they may get a pair of slippers. Every year they may get one umbrella, things like that. Then every week they may get this coconut oil. That they will do. But if you want a cell phone, you want internet, you want TV, you want this, that they won't give you. So I must have become free from those needs. The only I can retire, otherwise retiring is not simply stopping work and becoming miserable. It's called retirement. Life of retirement is when I have gained that emotional maturity of becoming free from the need to do things. So that is the forest dweller, Aranyaka, for whom now, so that emotional maturity is gained, but he also needs now a further development for developing that concentration as well as an emotional tuning up with Ishvara. Also is required. You can call it upasana, you can call it bhakti. And that is also not the subject matter of Upanishad really. Upanishad addresses a person who has even evolved as far as this tuning up with Ishvara is concerned. And now is only ready to know Ishvara as a self. But Chandogya Chandogya Upanishad, on the other hand, includes a lots of chapters. Of the 8 chapters of this Upanishad, the first 5 chapters are essentially devoted to upasana or meditation upon Ishvara. And you can choose a lot of choices there. But that meditation also, or upasana, or mental worship, is also required to be done for us to tune up with Ishvara. And they will tell you the method of how to do that. So, we are now only in the Aranyaka section. After completing 5 chapters, we'll go to Upanishad section. So, we have to wait. Chandogya Upanishad it is called. So, we are studying Chandogya Upanishad. Word Upanishad has 2 meanings. Upanishad, as we understand, means Brahma Vidya, self-knowledge. But Upanishad also means this meditation. It's also called Upanishad. Esha Vedo Upanishad. So Upanishad also means the meditation, upasana. So first Upanishad of that nature, followed by Upanishad of nature of the self-knowledge. So with all that introduction now, tomorrow, hopefully we'll enter the text and proceed with that. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.